Yo. Wow. Welcome. My name is Krista. Welcome to my podcast. And I am blown away by the response of last week's episode. Thank you so much for reaching out to me, for encouraging me, for sending me that 20-second hug. Thank you for just being my people. Like, y'all my people for real. And I'm here for it. Thank you. I think it's incredible that God would use me in a time where I don't feel useful. That the word said from this trundle bed resonated with you so much that you liked and you shared and you commented and you sent messages and shared your stories. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that what we're doing through vulnerability breeds community, and I'm here for it. Vulnerability is a call to action. It's more than just sharing your thoughts and your feelings and just, here you go, world. Take this is how I feel I'm being vulnerable. There's a responsibility to it because I think we say our words and get our thoughts out. We process it, but I think we forget the action part of sharing it with somebody else, sharing your story, what you've been through. Your story matters and who you are matters. Share that with somebody else and in hopes of it being reciprocated back, because the many times that happens, that means you're receiving so many other different perspectives. That means it's impossible to have a fixed mindset there. Your worldview is growing, and I think that's a beautiful place. So shout out to vulnerability, you know what I'm saying? Out here, thugging, making people cry, even though I don't be crying, but I be crying. Anyway, let's jump into episode 2. Here is Holy Disappointed. Take a breath with me. Disappointed. I'm disappointed, and I'm okay in saying that because that means I acknowledge where I'm at and I know where I'm at. So I'm secure and safe because y'all my people. I can say that to you. I'm disappointed, but not in the type of disappointment where a child is disappointed that their parents did not take them to Disneyland for spring break. Like, that's not the type of disappointment I'm talking about. I'm talking about the disappointment with life, in life, about life. Take any preposition and put it with life and disappointment, and you will find Krista at the helm of it, right? That's what I'm talking about. And I want to know, how do you handle disappointments while in pain? When seasons of life seem never ending and disappointments seem to stack and pile on top of each other, how do you handle that type of disappointment while dealing with pain? The questions that I'm going to ask in this episode are not rhetorical, but that doesn't mean you have to rush to the answer, as we learned in the last episode. So sit in the question, but also be okay if the answer is not what you want to hear. How many of you guys remember that one spring, April or May, where there was a snow-nado and tigers got out? Yes. So in Oklahoma, weird things happen. We're used to it, but it's still weird. So it's springtime, so it should be a happy sunny day, right? And it's snowing. Disappointed. Now there's tornadoes. Disappointment. And just when you're like, okay, that in and of itself, because listen, I'm not a meteorologist by any means, but I don't think that it's supposed to be snowing with a tornado at the same time. Like, I feel like the elements were showing out at that point. Like, I need to go watch Into the Unknown, Elsa and the Elements. I need y'all to figure this out because this ain't it. This ain't it. So it's snowing, you've got a tornado, and somehow zoo animals got out and there's tigers on the loose. Welcome to Oklahoma. That was a wild night for us, although bizarre and weird, also normal for us at the same time. And so I just remember, like, a friend of mine made t-shirts back in the day. Like, it was wild. And just when you think Oklahoma couldn't get wilder, then Tiger King came out. Now that's a whole other ball game there. We're talking about Tiger King. But those incidents in and of themselves, by themselves, is not cause for concern. It would make the news, but I don't think it would make headlines. Not by themselves, but together, a snow-nado with tigers, that's a headline. That is one of the, yep, we've reached the pinnacle there, right? That is, for me, the perfect definition of dealing with chronic pain and dealing with disappointments. A snow NATO with tigers on the loose. So for me, from April 2021 to May 2022, I had 5 neck procedures done. You can say ouch. Ouch. Ouch is correct. Each one of those, I'm down for about a week. Each of them cost at least $2,000. So yes, big ouch there. Had 5 of those. I also lost my job. I also couldn't find a job, but I was also unable to work. I fell downstairs. I wrecked my car. All of these disappointments have been piling on top of each other. And the disappointment, I acknowledge that I'm disappointed because that's where I pinpoint my anger and my bitterness. When I am acting out and throwing oranges across the kitchen, I'm sorry, Mama, I love you. I find the root of that is disappointment, that I am very discouraged with where I'm at in life. And we talked about that the last episode with where I'm at. And a lot of the times it seems like it's never ending and it's not going to stop. I'm disappointed with the healthcare that I've received over the last couple of years. I'm disappointed in the care that I received the last 10 plus years, to be honest, because it seems that my pain is getting worse because I'm passing out of it. And these disappointments keep happening. And I feel like life is passing me by while I'm dealing with these disappointments. So I'm trying to figure out, how do I get to that life that seems to be passing me by? One of the things that I love about life is, even if I can't win, I want my friends to win. So friends and family, you are killing it right now. I know a lot of you guys are killing it in your businesses. Your business is growing. You just got a new contract. Your child just reached a new milestone. You found the guy. You got married. You had the baby. You got the house. All these sort of things. Please, please, please keep winning. But at the same time, as happy and elated as I am for you, I am very discouraged and disappointed with where I'm at. And I feel like I can do both of those and not have them bleed over into one another. I'm not saying that's correct or not. I'm just telling y'all how it is right now. And when you can't get to the life that you see and you see others winning, it breeds more resentment and bitterness and angerness and inner turmoil within yourself. And I have to ask the question is, how do you handle disappointments while in pain? Because I'm asking that for myself, right? So that's one question that I definitely have to ask. Another question that I have to ask you is, how do you handle disappointments that continually remind you where you're at? So let's go back to this whole life thing, right? It's a beautiful thing to have an anointing and a calling on your life and to know your purpose. A lot of people are purposeless and they're lost and they're not sure where to go. It's a beautiful thing when you know what you're supposed to be doing. It's a disappointing thing when you know what you're supposed to be doing and you can't get to it. So for me, the things that continually remind me where I'm at, which we said last episode, I don't like where I'm at, is being asked, what are you going to do next? Or I know that God's going to use this for good and something big is coming. And I love the sentiment and all of those things. I just don't find it encouraging right now because I know what I need to do. I just can't get to it. But hear my heart. That doesn't mean I want you to stop saying things like that to me. I'm just processing out loud and saying what's helpful and what's not helpful. And if I don't acknowledge everything, then I'll sit and fester on one thing, right? Trying to grapple with trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do with this life from this trundle bed. And so this is my attempt at that. But it does cause some angst and some anxiety of knowing your calling, but not being able to get to your calling. Another example of being reminded where I'm at is I'm a substitute teacher. I've been doing that since January, and I do it on days that I feel well. And it's a great thing when I can get up, get dressed, drive, go in, do a job, earn wages, come back home. I feel productive in doing that. In the moment, it's great. But then there's the moment when you get into the classroom and the kid goes, what made you want to be a substitute? And now I'm bawling, bawling. And I'm like, who wants to be a substitute? That question, again, reminds me where I'm at. And I'm instantly disappointed. And then that's when the thoughts flood and I have to capture those as they come. And so this is another reason why I have to acknowledge the disappointments that I feel, because if not, they will run rampant in my brain and in my head, and I will stay in that hole for forever. But there's no dishonor in being a substitute teacher. I do want to say that. It is not an easy job. And if you're a sub, or if you have subbed and you're with me, these kids is bad. No, it's just a whole different generation that we're trying to learn and figure out. And I feel like that old person, but it's a great thing to be a substitute. It's just a very hard thing when you know that's not what you're supposed to be doing, but this is where you're at. This is where I'm at. Is here holy? It's the ultimate question, right? Trying to date. Oh my goodness. Can y'all imagine me having a boy right now dealing with all of this? I can't, which is why I don't, I think. Or not. I don't get asked that much anyway, so that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about, for me, dealing with chronic pain, sharing all of this with somebody else that's new feels scary to me, because it's a lot of baggage to take in, right? I feel like it's like an immediate sign up for a caretaker role, because there's days I'm physically unable to do things, and there's days mentally I'm unable to do things. Sharing that with somebody, I feel like, oh man, I don't want to burden you with that. And I know what y'all are saying, because I've heard it. Krista, if somebody wants to do that for you, he would be elated to do that for you. This is what he's blah, 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 all this. Yes, I understand all of that. But that doesn't make it less scary, because especially in the get to know you phase, it is the questions that are, what do you do? Or what are you gonna do? What type? Because those are things that tell you the type of person that you are getting involved with. And for me, if it's a lot of nothing, if it's a lot of this trundle, I don't have much to talk about on these dates if I were to ever get one. But I'm saying that because the possibility of dating also reminds me of where I'm at and reminds me of the disappointments that I'm facing each day. Again, that's a question I'm asking myself in that vein of dating, is how do I balance that disappointment? And what if I get involved with a guy and it's too much for him, or it's just not what he signed up for, or not what he wanted? And anyways, those are all the thoughts I have there on that. So a lot of questions on how to handle the disappointments. And here are 3 questions that I ask myself when I become overwhelmed with disappointment, when I become overwhelmed with the stressors of my day-to-day, or whatever that looks like. And these questions, again, are not rhetorical, but the difference is these 3 questions have answers. They have direct answers, and it's a yes or a no. And the 3 questions I ask myself, number 1, is, do I believe that God created the heavens and the earth? Yes, I believe that. I believe God created the heavens and the earth. Okay. The next question, do I believe that God sent his only son to earth to become a man, to die on the cross for my sins, to be resurrected from death, and to allow an opportunity for me to spend eternity with heaven while also on earth, be inhabited by his Holy Spirit? Yes, I believe that. Okay, 2 questions, 2 answers, both of them yes. Third question, do I believe that that same man, the cross, the resurrection, eternity, Holy Spirit, that man named Jesus, do I believe that he loves me? Yes, I do. Okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay because I know that my life is but a vapor and that eternity is coming. But I also know the God of the heavens and the earth thought of me. The God who became man and gave his life for me. I know that he loves me, and I know he's thinking of me. And I do believe that, as a lot of friends are telling me, Nothing is wasted. My pain will not be wasted. And so those 3 questions allow me the opportunity to breathe in moments of deep, deep despair. I want you to ask yourself those 3 questions too. Anytime you're feeling overwhelmed, anytime you're feeling pressure, release it, because you're okay, babe. If I'm okay, you're okay. So to continue with the action side of vulnerability, how do we combat disappointment? Maybe these are answers, but I think these could be resources that could help us get to that answer. I had a therapist once, years ago. One thing that she helped me through processing things that I felt like I lost in life, she had me go and write it all down. However long the list was, however detailed it was, she said, write down everything that you've lost. And for me, everything that I've lost because of pain. So as a procrastinator, I took my time also because I didn't want to deal with what I had lost. I don't want to see it written out in paper. It already lives in my brain. And so before my next appointment with her, I took my deep breaths and I wrote out all the things that I lost. And I wrote and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. And I was very, very angry and sad and bitter. And I had all sorts of emotions and big feelings because look at all I had lost. I had this paper that is proof that the disappointments in my life are haunting me, right? I take them to her and then she gives me more homework and she says, okay, now go home and cross out everything that is permanent. You've permanently lost it. But also mark which ones are temporary. I had never processed my loss in that way because in the moments of despair and disappointment and grief and your heart is aching, everything is a loss. And she provided me some hope by offering me an opportunity to look for the good. I find myself looking for the bad. That's all I can see. And that's all I want to see because it's easier that way. And so when she gave me the opportunity to go in and mark which ones are just temporarily lost, man, I kind of got excited all over again because I was able to take that whole process and even the ones that were permanently gone, she had me grieve those losses that were permanently gone. And then and at the time, basketball was on that list. And y'all know how I feel about ball is life, March Madness, baby. Basketball was on that list of crossing out, and I thought it was a permanent thing. I did get back to playing again, but now I'm in a season of life where basketball is back on that list, and right now it's crossed out, and I'm hoping that it's just temporary. I'm not 100% sure, but I grieved those things that I lost, and I celebrated those that were just temporary, because that's hope, right? That's eventually I will be able to do those things again. Eventually those other things will return back to me. And that gave me lots of hope. So I want to challenge you to do the same. Write down all the things that you lost. And I don't want you to do it in a one-step motion. I want you to break it down. I want you to take a week to process all that you've lost. Then the next week, take a moment and cross out what's permanent and mark what's temporary and rejoice that the Lord will return those things back to you. So hopefully that will encourage you. Another way to combat disappointment is to watch The Chosen. If you're not watching The Chosen, you've lost your mind. I am obsessed with this show. I'm obsessed with everything about it. And just go watch it for yourselves and we can talk about why I love it so much. I want to particularly talk about season 3, episode 3. Things are getting really heated and Jesus is slowly revealing himself to people, and some people are believing, some people are not. And he is sending the disciples out 2 by 2 for the first time. Mind you, by this point, he's performed some miracles, he's healed a bunch of people, all that sort of thing. Little James comes up to him. He asks, "Why haven't you healed me yet?" Obviously, I'm bawling immediately. I had to pause the TV. Couldn't even walk. Uncontrollably crying. Press play. And Jesus says, "It's in the Father's will for you to be healed." So now I'm crying again. "And I can heal you, but your story would be just like everybody else that I healed." It'd be a good story. Any type of healing Jesus does is a good story. He said, "But can you imagine a better story, a greater story? What if you were healing people despite your own pain that you're dealing with? What if I moved through you? Would that not be a better story? Would that not be greater?" So obviously I'm a full mess at this point, and little James is crying, Jesus is crying, and they have this moment. And for me, it was the realization that this may be my life forever. And I wondered, how incredibly hard is it going to be for me to do the things I feel like I'm called to do from this space? But looking at little James and Jesus sending him off, and Jesus reassures him, "You're not a burden. We will help you carry your things. We will walk slower for you." And what Jesus is offering is better. He's offering eternity. He's offering healing. I think that is one way to prove he is who he is to heal despite whatever's going on with the person. He can still heal through you. And for me, it was the realization of, okay, I got to ante up. Greater is out there. Better is out there. And even if I don't see it earthside, my commander has given me an order. And in the grand scheme of things, me being disobedient outweighs my disappointment, right? I can't afford to be disobedient in this instance just because I want to be disappointed and butthurt. I realize that fibromyalgia and arthritis may be something I have forever. And the question is, will I allow Jesus to work through me? Or will I get angry that I wasn't healed to do what I wanted to do? That sounds so silly saying that out loud. But that's the truth. That's the reality. Because although I did feel, okay, this is what my commander has asked me to do, this is what my Savior has asked me to do, my heart broke because I thought, goodness, he's going to have to walk all those miles. I can only imagine walking that much in pain. Healing other people when you're not healed. And they actually showed a clip where he is healing somebody and he's gleefully excited for them, but he's still like, this is where I'm at. Just like I said earlier, I'm happy for you, all my friends doing great things. I want you to win. I want the kingdom to win. But I'm still a little discouraged that I am not winning in the ways that I want to be winning. You know what I mean? So I think one way to combat disappointment is to watch The Chosen. But specifically, if you're dealing with chronic pain, watch that episode. For me, I watch it often. It's an often reminder of, although that is not the actual Jesus, it is him showing kindness and mercy. And he didn't even have to say, it's in the Father's will for you to be healed. He could have just said, this is what I need you to do, and walked away, but he didn't. He let him know that his healing was coming in due time. And so after I let go of my feelings of, I'm going to have to just deal with this, I realized greater is out there, and I want greater. I want greater for me. I want greater for my community. I want greater for my family. I've been so disappointed in life that frankly, I forgot that the fire star breathing one has provided a world that I couldn't even think of if I wanted to. The details in his ways is so mystical and magical. Like, think of snowflakes. And here in Oklahoma, we don't always get good snowflakes. But you know when you do and you see how intricate that little bitty snowflake is? It's wild. It's wild to me. How can something randomly, I say randomly because like it's coming from the sky, come down in such a pristine, detailed way? It's mystical and mysterious. I think about laminin. Yes, Lord. Laminin. If you don't know what laminin is, you need to go watch Louis Giglio's How Great Is Our God. You can watch it on YouTube. It's about 42 minutes long. Actually, it's 42 minutes and 10 seconds. This is a video that I watch. I've been watching it for the past 10 years, almost at least twice a year. I share it quite often. Watching that makes me realize how big and grand our God is, and how his detail and everything is so big and grand out to the universe, but also so small and intricate within our own bodies and within our own cells. The cell adhesion molecule laminin is in the shape of a cross, and we have all of those inside of us holding us together. When he has us literally in the palm of his hand, he has us. And I have to sit in that. And that is another way I fight disappointment, is by realizing my God does not make mistakes. My God is so big and so mighty. And if he's so detailed about a snowflake, can I tell you how detailed he is about me? Can I tell you how detailed he is about you and your family, your wants, your desires, your pain, all of that, all of that. And I find that to be brilliant, and that grounds me when I think about how in the past he's provided, he's healed, he's delivered, he's redeemed, he's restored. From the beginning of time, he'll do it again. History after history, generation after generation, he'll do it again. And although I can have all of these big thoughts and feelings that I mentioned earlier in this episode, when I look at our job as kingdom builders, I kind of feel like I'm throwing a temper tantrum. And this also goes along with the tug of war, as you are seeing it in real time. I feel like I'm throwing a tantrum when I realize the grandeur of our God, that whatever I'm dealing with, he already knows, and he's already made a way. It is now my job to, like I said, ante up and find that way. And I think that grounds me, and it makes me realize how entitled I've been, entitled to not have pain. And if I think about it, like thinking about little James, like if Jesus heals him, yeah, he goes on to heal others. But he probably doesn't have that same compassion and connection that he probably would have had he had not gotten healed, right? So for me, if God were to heal me right now, what do I do with that? I'm asking this question just out loud. I'm not entitled to a life without pain. And to say, God, take my pain away so that I can live my life is very entitled. And I'm realizing that. And I'm owning it. And these are all the things that I'm just noting, and I'm pinpointing it. I'm pinpointing it to this pain so that when I feel it again, or in another time, when I feel it again, it doesn't hurt as bad because I've experienced it before. And then it reminds me that if he did it before, that he would do it again. I'm holding on to that, church, and I hope you are too, because I think that is fantastic. So as you journey through disappointment and you navigate through what this looks like for you on a practical level, while including vulnerability, I hope that you're able to be honest about where you're at, even if it's yucky and gross. Be able to acknowledge that you're disappointed. It's not a sin to say I'm disappointed. I hope that you can allow vulnerability to be the vehicle to encouragement, that you can ride that ride no matter how bumpy, whether or not it has seatbelts or not, but you understand that that's how you get there, and that's part of the process. I think that will help ground you in those moments. And then just take deep breaths and realize that the God of the universe sees you. Although it may not feel like it. Hagar didn't feel seen when she's in the desert with her son and they're literally about to die. She didn't see a way out of that, but God saw her. And the first person to give God a name. What a moment that must have been. And although it may not seem like a moment to her then, it's a moment for us now. And we can learn from that and know that God sees us exactly where we're at. Disappointed? Nah, encouraged.